It's Tuesday, the 29th of November, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's get into it. Story number 1, we've just had 4 days of sales from Black Friday through to Cyber Monday, and the early evidence suggests that it's been record-breaking.
Yes, based on foot traffic and anecdotal feedback, it might be the best 4 days according to the Australian Retailers Association, at least the best 4 days for the Black Friday to Cyber Monday period. Probably reflects Christmas shopping done early or people delaying purchases until the sales came up, so the actual success can't be properly judged until the end of the Christmas season. Now, it comes as figures came out yesterday from the Bureau of Statistics that said retail sales fell 0.2% last month. That means about $35 billion was sold in-store and online. Compared to a year earlier, it's up about 12%. If you look at the trend in retail sales, though, tumbled at the beginning of the coronavirus, then surged, and it remains well above trend. So a fallback isn't that surprising. It probably means the best is over there for retailers, and that makes the Christmas selling season very, very important. People are getting over the post-COVID spend up. They're facing higher mortgage payments as rates rise and their loans come off fixed rate deals, and cost of living pressures remain. Think petrol prices. Michael, there's plenty of reason to think the best from the consumer is over. Add in woeful consumer confidence. Doesn't really augur that well for the economy in 2023.
No, certainly doesn't. All right, on to story number 2. This is an interesting one, Sean. The board of the Bank of Queensland has removed the group's CEO, George Frazis, after just 3 years, saying that the lender needs a different skill set for its next stage of development.
It isn't something you see very much on an ASX-listed company, the board stepping in and saying the CEO has done a good job, but it's time for a change. That's exactly what happened at Bank of Queensland yesterday. Frazis came from Westpac. He has successfully transformed the bank to be more growth-focused. He improved Bank of Queensland's mortgage book, its technology stack, and he spent $1.3 billion acquiring ME Bank. But Chair Patrick Allaway, who will become Executive Chair while a search is undertaken, said the bank wanted to focus more on execution rather than growth. Now, Michael, media reports have previously suggested some disquiet between Mr. Frazis and the board, particularly over the CEO hiring his godson without telling the board of the relationship and his expensive off-site meetings with his executive team. There you go.
All right, on to story number 3. Sean, Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe has offered an apology to people who took out home loans based on the central bank's guidance that interest rates wouldn't rise until 2024.
It's probably unprecedented. Certainly, I can't remember it ever happening where a Reserve Bank governor says sorry for getting it so wrong. Remember, up until late last year, the bank kept saying the next rate rise wouldn't occur until 2024 at the earliest. Since May, the official cash rate has gone from 0.1% to 2.85%, and it's likely to rise further. People made decisions on whether or not to up their mortgage or to get a mortgage based on what the Reserve Bank said. They got it wrong. The Reserve Bank governor is now apologising. Dr. Lowe made the apology before a Senate Estimates Committee yesterday. He conceded that the central bank was partly responsible for the outbreak of inflation in Australia, but defended the pandemic-era stimulus measures the RBA undertook, saying it was necessary to get the economy out of a hole.
Okay, story number 4, Sean. We've got about a minute here to wrap up a bunch of things that are happening in Canberra at the moment. Parliament is sitting for the final week of the year, so there is a stack going on. First up, the National Party will oppose Labor's proposed Indigenous voice to Parliament.
Leader David Littleproud said the party believed in empowering local Indigenous communities rather than creating another layer of bureaucracy in Canberra. He said it would not help close the Indigenous disadvantage gap and could not be supported by the junior coalition partner. That means no bipartisan support on the vote for the Indigenous voice. Also yesterday, as you mentioned, lots going on. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says Cabinet has backed all 6 recommendations from the Bell inquiry to prevent a repeat of the Scott Morrison secret ministries saga. Mr. Morrison's actions fundamentally undermine the principles of responsible government, according to that report. He now faces a censure motion in the House of Reps. Workplace sexual harassment laws pass through Parliament. Their new laws come from Sex Discrimination Commissioner Kate Jenkins' Respect at Work report. And ASIO has downgraded the risk of local terrorist attacks from probable to possible.
All right, last story, Sean. Story number 5, a really serious situation, actually. Protests in China are spreading to multiple cities as anger builds against Beijing's COVID-0 policy.
There have been large protests in Beijing and Shanghai, as well as other parts of the country, as citizens vented against COVID restrictions. There has been a heavy police presence in some areas, particularly Shanghai. Financial markets have fallen in response to the unrest. A BBC reporter was beaten and kicked by police during a COVID-19 protest in Shanghai. He was eventually handcuffed, arrested, and held for several hours, according to the BBC. It's a very tenuous situation, Michael.
Yeah, it sure is. There we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 29th of November, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.